the P UDI or the P DHY? Which of TaylorMade's new utility irons could be right for you? Historically, January is the release time for TaylorMade and most other OEMs, so we've seen some really cool clubs coming out in the last couple of weeks from TaylorMade. Specifically, the new TaylorMade Burner Mini Driver Copper, and then a copper-toned version of the P790 irons. Now, we're getting a couple of new utility irons, both the P UDI and the P DHY. Obviously, TaylorMade has had utility irons in the past, but anytime that they bring out clubs like this, there's a certain macho factor to it. There's a certain coolness to it. If you're somebody who's putting a utility iron or driving iron into your bag, it just sort of signals to everybody out there that you are somebody who is a ball striker, that you are somebody who really feels like you want that piercing, penetrating flight off the tee, that you're able to hit something like this from the fairway. There's just a cool factor to them that's undeniable. From a construction standpoint, both the P UDI and the P DHY are going to be hollow body irons. That means inside there is a hollow chamber, but in this case then that hollow chamber has been filled with a material called speed foam air. Now this is the same foam that is actually put into the new P790s as well as the P770s. It's a lighter weight version of the original speed foam, and what it does is soaks up excessive vibrations, and that's going to enhance the sound and the feel that you're going to get at the moment of impact. Both of these clubs also, you'll notice, have a slot that's been designed into the sole. That is going to help to make the bottom part of the hitting area activate a little bit more effectively on thinly struck shots, which in a utility iron is actually pretty handy because yes, you will be hitting these primarily off the tee, but you'll also may be tempted to put these into play from the fairway. And if you do thin the ball with an iron like this, which is going to have very little loft, both of these are only available as 2, 3, and 4 irons, having a slot in the bottom of the sole can help to allow the lower portion of the hitting area to flex a little bit more effectively to get the ball up in the air, give you a little bit better performance if you do thin it. Now, talking about the P UDI specifically to begin with, UDI stands for Ultimate Driving Iron, and TaylorMade has had several different versions of the Ultimate Driving Iron that have been released over the last several years. Typically, they come out at the end of June, beginning of July, because we lead into the Open Championship season, and that's when most people are thinking about utility irons and driving irons. This club is going to be primarily something you're going to want to use off the tee, although it will be something you could use from the fairway. Again, available only as a 2, 3, or 4 iron. What's interesting about this club is that while it is a touch shorter than the equivalently lofted P790, this club is going to be, according to TaylorMade, a little bit more forgiving than P790. It has some internal weighting that is going to help to give it a little bit more stability. It also has a center of gravity location that's going to be right in the middle of the hitting area. So it's going to give you that piercing ball flight. If you're somebody who doesn't really want a hybrid but is looking for hybrid style distance, this club is going to hit the ball lower than hybrids and certainly than fairway woods. It's going to be really, really good in windy conditions and when you need to keep the ball down but you're looking for distance off the tee. Now, shifting over to the P DHY or the P DHY. DHY stands for driving hybrid. This club is going to be a little bit beefier. This is going to be a little bit more hybrid-like, but it is still clearly very much an iron. It has a touch more offset than you're going to get on the P UDI, but it's built in very much the same way. Again, this is a club that is going to have a lower flight than hybrids, but it's going to be higher than the P UDI. It's going to be a little bit beefier all the way around. It's going to have a slightly wider sole, and that's going to help to lower the center of gravity. So this club is going to be more forgiving and produce a little bit more spin and a little bit more height than the P UDI. What's interesting, according to TaylorMade, is that the P DHY is actually the most forgiving iron that TaylorMade makes, bar none. This club obviously is going to be more forgiving as a 2, 3, and 4 iron than the equivalently lofted P770, P790, P UDI, but it's also going to be more forgiving than the QI10 in the same loft, and that is because the internal weighting and the center of gravity location is going to help this club really get the ball up extremely easily. So if you're a player who needs, again, hybrid style distance and performance, but you just want to keep irons in your bag, the P DHY is going to be a club that you're definitely going to want to consider. So now it's time to put these guys through their paces and see exactly how they compare to each other. And I'll be honest with you, I do not carry a 3 iron. I am one of those people that pulled the 3 iron out of the bag a long time ago. I am a member of the 7-wood mafia. I go for myself, driver, 3-wood, 7-wood, 4 hybrid, and then I go right into a 5 iron as my first iron. So it's been a while since I've hit 3 irons for a very good reason, but I'm fascinated to see exactly how these clubs will perform and how they perform compared to each other. So let's take a look. Okay, so we're gonna start out easy and we're gonna go with the P DHY to begin with. I'll tell you what, it feels great. And that thing was absolutely crushed. Carry distance of 221, total distance of 243. That could put a 3-iron back in my bag. I'm consistently sending these balls out to the right. That could be a reflection of the shaft. This is a shaft that TaylorMade made available to me, a UST Mamiya recoil shaft that may not be right for me, but I can tell you that the feel of the D-high is much softer than I would have anticipated, and the flight has actually been fantastic. I'm spinning the ball with a 3-iron around 3,000, which is great. That's the ball flight that we're really looking for. That's the draw that I want. And I'll tell you what, 217 carry, 239 total, 2,700, just under 2,800 RPM of spin. That's a pretty nice flight. I would take that. Okay, so we've switched now to the P UDI from the D-high. Right away you can see with the P UDI, this looks much more like a true iron. You don't really see any of the mass or any of the back of the club behind the top line. It does have a slightly shorter blade length by about 4 or 5 millimeters, and that may sound like a really small amount. It is something you notice when you hit one club to the other, so if you're somebody who wants that compact blade length, then the P UDI is probably going to be a little bit more in your wheelhouse. That felt good. 222 carry, 242 total, 2,600 on the spin. That one felt really open. That's going to go right, I think. Yep. Yeah. Awful. That was outstanding. That felt dynamite. A little bit more spin on that one, 220 carry, 236 total. So I've only hit about 5 or 6 balls now with the P UDI, but the difference in forgiveness is really noticeable compared with the D-high. The D-high, pretty much every ball felt crunched, every ball got up easily. It really jumped, at least for me. It feels like the P UDI, you have to be a much more consistent ball striker. You have to make much more solid contact with this. Again, at a 3-iron loft of 20 degrees, you don't have a lot of wiggle room with this. It is more forgiving than a P790 3-iron is going to be, but if you're looking for forgiveness, or if forgiveness is one of your main priorities, this might not be the club you might want to look at. You might be much more of a D-high player. That was thin. Okay, Speed Slot, do your work. 180 carry, that's to be expected because I'm so low on the face. 206, 3,700. I mean, is it the worst shot that I've hit? No, I've hit plenty worse. Okay, so what did I learn about the new TaylorMade utility irons? Well, both of them, when you hit them well, feel great, but certainly you're gonna feel the extra forgiveness in the DHY compared with the UDI. I think the UDI is gonna be much more for lower handicap players, golfers who maybe are in the P770 product and, for example, the P7 MBs and MCs. I think if you're somebody who is interested in putting in a utility iron and you are, say, an 8 handicap or higher, then the PDHY is going to be the club that will probably be a much better fit for you overall because of the forgiveness, because it is going to get up in the air a little bit more easily. They both, again, felt great. I did notice that I also got significantly more distance, at least for me, with the PDHY. 13 yards more distance according to the TrackMan here at Chris Cody's Golf Shop. So that is something that to me is significant, but gapping is really critical when you're talking about utility irons. These clubs need to go a specific distance on a specific trajectory. It sounds great to be able to hit a 3-iron really far, but if that goes up against your last fairway wood and creates a massive gap between this club and say your first iron, you're not doing yourselves any favors. These clubs are going to be alternatives to high lofted fairway woods, to hybrids, and to other long irons. They have to make sense from a gapping standpoint in your bag, both from a distance standpoint and from a trajectory standpoint. So you work with a good custom fitter if you're interested in getting into a new utility iron to make sure that you hit the gaps that you need to hit so you're not going to be between clubs. So if you did get some good information from this video, please consider like, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. And I'm happy to answer any comments that you have down in the comment area below. I do try and go through those on a regular basis and get back to you. So it'd be great if you would reach out with anything that you want me to answer for you. Thanks a lot, and I look forward to seeing you soon.